At any one time, the Fed is looking after 1,000 people of all ages in our community. Ordinary people facing extraordinary problems every day.
I feel like I've always known the Fed in some way or another, either through friends or family, but my own contact with the Fed was probably about 7 years ago.
Elaine lives in Brighton. Her brother Howard was cared for all his life by their mum, Beatrice, until she developed dementia.
Howard has autistic spectrum disorder and he also has a heart condition. Howard uses 2 services at the Fed, well actually 3 if we also include, he goes to see Mum who's at Heathlands, who's a resident there. Aside from seeing Mum, Howard also uses the drop-in, and he also has a volunteer from the Time For You project who he's been seeing for about 3 years now, called Lionel.
Amanda is a single working mother of 2 young children. The family has been looked after by the Fed for 6 years.
Joshua had a lot of problems from about the age of 1 year old. He had a lot of behavioural tantrums, and then he was about 3-4 years old when he got diagnosed with autism, and then ADHD and health problems as well. I first got in touch with the Fed when my husband left 6 years ago. Josh was 1 at the time and my daughter Erin was 2. My husband left and he left me in a lot of financial mess, and I got involved with a lovely social worker called Annette, who's been my rock through it all. She's been amazing.
Rona is married to Michael. They have 2 grown-up children. The family has been helped by the Fed for 5 years.
We met at the Nissan Sumac Youth Centre. I was 13 and he was 16. And we went out for a long time, off and on. And eventually got married when I was 25, he was 27. And we had 23 very, very happy years, and we've been married for 32, so we did quite well. They love Michael, everybody loves Michael. If there's ever a problem, if there's anything medical, we can ask somebody and a doctor will come and see him, or we get a lot of support, and we just know he's being looked after really well.
The Fed's social workers and volunteers look after hundreds of people living with dementia in the community and at Heathlands Village, where our nursing and care staff look after residents around the clock.
It's only recently, actually, since Mum went into Heathlands, because Mum was his main carer, that Howard kind of discovered his needs, I guess, because Mum was very protective and wanted the best for him. Over the last couple of years, Howard has seen some professionals, and it's been confirmed that Howard's got amazing talents. He's great with maths, he can remember timetables, he's really, really good at lots and lots of things, but there are some challenges for him. I try to make sure that with myself and also with my sister and the Fed as backup, that we keep things as kind of routine for him as possible. A couple of years ago, my brother had a heart attack, and it was a little bit touch and go whether he'd survive, but he did. And Howard manages all the other things I mentioned, is autism, but he also now has to manage his health. So he's got a health condition, a physical health condition, and that's quite tricky because my sister and I can't attend all those appointments. So he has Lionel, thankfully, who can do that with him. So if I can't go and my sister can't go, then I know that Lionel can be there to support my brother.
Last year, over 550 FED volunteers provided 30,000 hours of support to people who are vulnerable, isolated and often housebound.
So I'm really, really passionate that organisations such as the FED continue. A lot of people who go there are quite vulnerable. They've got mental health issues, learning disabilities, and they feel that connection based on religion but also based on their need. And I think without that special place, that special drop-in, people would feel isolated, and I wouldn't want that for Howard. I wouldn't want him to feel isolated.
The drop-in supports 60 vulnerable people a year with mental health problems, providing them with a safe, welcoming home from home.
Before I got help with Josh, life was very hard. There's me and my mum's not very well herself. She's in remission for breast cancer. And my brother and my sister live in London, so I have no aunties and uncles here, so I rely on my mum for everything. She takes me to school, brings them home when I'm working. Before Josh got diagnosed, obviously we just had to plod along as best as we could. It was obviously when he got diagnosed, I got involved with Project Smile, who have been my lifeline. I have the most amazing worker, Zoe, who comes on a Wednesday for 2 hours and helps bath Josh and wash his hair, because Josh is very, very sensory with his autism. He doesn't let me touch him, let me go near him. I can shower him, but only Zoe can actually wash his hair. We're not a normal family. She's also become a great support for me, somebody that I can talk to, drive her mad. You know, if I'm feeling a bit low or frustrated, she can always help you and she'll pick you back up. She's a big part of our family. Life can be very challenging with Josh. He's gorgeous, he's loving, he's lovely, but he can be very, very stubborn, very hard to live with. He has a lot of health problems, bowel problems, growth problems, and he also has ADHD. So Josh is on a lot of tablets during the day to keep him calm at school, and obviously at night to help him settle. He's a complex little boy. Without Project Smile, I don't think I would be able to carry on or have a life. I couldn't go out with my daughter and just go to the shops or go to the supermarket, or on a Sunday here come and have friends around to play, because Josh can't go out a lot. He's got a lot of anxiety. He doesn't like new places, doesn't like loads of people. We just would be sat in the house every day. Josh absolutely adores Project Smile. It's the only place, except his bedroom and a home, that he feels happy and safe. He sits there, he'll do arts and crafts, he'll play in the garden, and he just feels very safe and no one's judging him. Without that, I would completely be lost.
Each year, over 600 children in need or with special needs are supported by the FED social work team and Project Smile.
Michael was 52 when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I thought it was depression or, I don't know, midlife crisis.
Things were just wrong. He was angry and he was losing his temper for no real reason.
We knew what Alzheimer's was. Everybody knows what Alzheimer's is. But we had no idea of the implications of the disease. But we do now. His language went first. It was hard to communicate, I think. Couldn't quite understand what he wanted to say, and then he would get frustrated and get annoyed with himself. I suppose at that point it was like keeping his temper at bay, and trying to placate him like a child, or giving him sweets. You know, if we're out shopping and I think he's going to have a tantrum, give him a lollipop to suck like a baby, really, so that it would be distracted.
I always knew my mum was great, but then she kind of took it up a notch, or 17,000, and became this carer, and with patience that was amazing, all the while she was, you know, her heart was breaking. And to watch that, it was tough.
Still love him, I'll always love him. But I've lost him, I know that. And I suppose my love's more maternal now because I care for him. and I shave him and I clean him. And I do it because I love him and I knew he'd do it for me. And he's still a very, very important part of my life, and I think he always will be.
I've lost a parent, and I think if Heathlands wasn't here, I would have lost another one. It gave my mum a chance to build another life that she needed to do, because nobody's died, but somebody's gone. Yeah.
He's not angry anymore. He's not vocal anymore. He's not mobile. He's just slipping away, I suppose. But he is being looked after, which is the main thing, and he's being looked after very well. And, for that, I'm very grateful, because if Heathlands wasn't here, I don't know what we'd do.
What about the stories that we can't show you? How can we show you the horror of some children's lives?
Children who are scared, neglected, and abused in our own community. As you sit here now, watching this, somewhere, not far from here, a child in our community is at risk. This child won't be on the news. This child won't make the headlines. This child may be someone you know. This child may have been told to keep a secret. This child may be scared and alone, hungry, cold, confused, thinking no one cares, or that what is happening to them is normal. This child may look just like me.
At any one time, the Fed looks after at least 20 children who are at risk in our own community.
Children being hit repeatedly with a belt by someone who is supposed to be looking after them. Being sexually abused by their mummy or daddy, their brother or sister. Being left at home alone, or left to look after themselves and their younger brothers and sisters, with no hot water, no heating, no food, no clean clothes, no warm bed. Being told they are not good enough, they are stupid, and don't deserve to be loved.
This is happening right now to 20 children in our community.
The Fed is here to protect children like this. Without the Fed, who would they turn to?
I am here to talk to you today because my dad can't. He stopped speaking 5 years ago. His unintelligible and manic rages that developed as the Alzheimer's took hold eventually subsided to broken sentences of no meaning, and then silence. Occasionally there is the odd mumble that we desperately hope makes sense. Often it doesn't. I cannot remember the last time he said my name. But I'm also here to speak to you today because my mum can't. She finds it impossible to talk about how my dad slipped away from us without crying. It's been 8 years since diagnosis, and 5 years since my dad moved into Heathlands. The heartache of losing someone you love to a disease that destroys who they are never goes away, but it can be soothed. The Fed does that. The Fed soothes heartache in our community. The Fed came into my family's life long before my dad moved to Heathlands. In the early stages of his disease, volunteers from the Fed came to take my dad out for the day, giving us, especially my mum who was working, much needed respite. The volunteers would play golf with him and take him to the airport to indulge his childhood love of aeroplanes. Not only did this give my mum a much needed break, but it gave my dad the occasional good day at a time when bad days were the norm. Eventually, the bad days became worse and constant, and we could not cope. We decided he needed to move to a care home. The pain and sadness of that decision were alleviated by knowing Heathlands was there, a place provided by our community that offers expert and loving care. Despite what we've been through, we know that we are lucky to have Heathlands. I dread to think what our lives would be like without it. Thanks to the Fed, my mum can wipe away her tears after saying goodbye to my dad and leave Heathlands knowing he is in safe and caring hands. My brother and I can go on to live the lives my dad always wanted for us, reassured that not only our dad is beautifully looked after, but that our mum has her life back too. We were too young for this. No one in their 20s should have a parent living in Heathlands. No mother should have to visit her son in a dementia unit the way my devoted grandma does. But we are so grateful. Everyone featured in that video is grateful for the Fed and the services it provides. And I am proud. I am proud of living in a community that helps each other in this way, supporting an organisation that enables us to support each other. I really wish that no one in this room has to endure the heartache that leads you to call upon the Fed. But I hope more than anything else that should you need it, the Fed will still be there offering the best quality care and support. I hope the Fed is there to help soothe your heartache.